everybody.
Hey, everybody.
Matt and Jeannie here. This week is a Archetypes convo. I love Archetypes.
Me too. I love a good archetype.
I know. Maybe it just helps
and
makes.
It's like good. I mean, I'm sure this was intentional whenever we planned out what we're talking about when. But we're about to leave and go do some witchy things in the UK. And in a very short period of time, it's going to be witch camp up in the Adirondacks. So it feels like it's already time.
Season of the Witch and whatnot. Yeah, because today's archetypes are it's the last pairing, right? It's like we've been doing the masculine and feminine. I think this is the last one. And we did pick fall for a specific reason, because I remember I wanted to talk about this, and you're like, no, we got to save that for fallish equinoxy time.
Because
the lover
it's the season of the witch.
And the witch. Pause. Honey, can you lower your mic so it's not directly in front of your face like this, and it's a little bit like lower and pointed up so we can see your whole beautiful face?
Well, if I slouch, if I sit up, is it okay?
Yeah.
Okay.
Awesome. Yeah, so the last two, lover and witch. Why do these two go together so well?
So this idea is more like, it's kind of like an interpretation of Tantra. So when we Tantra. So when we think about more Eastern spirituality, this awareness that we have these energies within ourselves. So this is not like be the witch archetype necessarily and then find the lover archetype outside of yourself. It's how these two come together within you, like an inner marriage, right? So the feminine would rise up from the root and the masculine would drop down from the crown, and then both connect to each other in the heart center. And there's like, they are each other's consorts, right? So when we're looking at the dynamics of the witch and the lover, like the feminine side is going to be about transformation, right? And shadow. And the masculine side is like balances and complements that. And it's about presence and ability to hold emotional depth. So even though this could be happening on this side, this is happening simultaneously, and these energies balance each other out. So it's, I think sometimes people are looking at masculine and feminine archetypes that are similar. So it's like,
right.
These two go together, but they go together to, quote Forrest Gump. They go together like peas and carrots, not peas and peas.
Sure. Okay.
I'm very sleepy for a podcast. Woo.
I like how, yes, because I think we mentioned this before, definitely how these are complementary. They're not the same. So, right, you're not looking for your like energy. You're looking for your opposite, so to speak. And I always have to remind, but when I talk to people that I know, mainly my guy friends, and mainly about finding a partner or having a partner, maybe this isn't just limited to these two chuckleheads that I know and love. But when we look for someone, we often go right to what is it that's the same for them and me, right? Which, like, on a superficial level is great, and that can be a lot of a basis for connection. Like, I know you and I, when we just I know we went and saw your bookshelf for the first time, I was like, oh, okay, there's a lot of things the interests we have that are in common. Or like we both like games, or like what TV shows we like bond over, right? So that like superficial level of similarity or commonness is great. But then I think the mistake is we want that to extend into the deeper connections, where that's really where you want some complementary energies or something to balance you out, not just always be the same. So that's what I love. And I love that archetypes are things you can channel. not necessarily things that like, well, I am this and that is all I am and can be. It's like, no, you can actively choose to channel the energy of any of these archetypes, if it's done intentionally and consciously. And I love that. I love that you can be like, I need the king today. How do I do that? Or I need a lot of this
Mhm.
today. How do I do that? And I think you use similar language in classes and when you teach about harnessing and channeling and focusing and being intentional about that too. So yeah, that's why I love this.
Yeah. I mean, it's kind of like any other team. So if we're going to take the archetypes outside the internal marriage and the internal energies that we want to balance within ourselves, right? Which is always a good place to start to understand them, because then you can a little bit do an inventory of the things that you know that you don't naturally have. And
Mm,
yeah, you can practice them, you can call them in, you can intentionally it's like any other skill that you don't naturally have. Like, I'm going to practice doing this
right,
thing until I get relatively decent at it. Um and it makes sense to collect a team of people, whether we're talking about like folks that
mm,
you work with or friendship groups or relationships and intimate partnerships, with people who have the strengths that you don't have on autopilot, because we learn from each other and we grow through each other. Like, we're all, if we're in this game of spiritual connection and growth, part of that is understanding that there is a sacred mirror in everyone, so that you can really like see yourself reflected back to you, and then notice the things that you'd like to cultivate more of, and maybe some things that you'd like to not do as much. But I think we've used this reference before, um because it seems like a lost art. But collecting a team of people who do things the way you do and think the way you do and
mm,
work the way you do is going to create a team that has some significant um, gaps in what it's able to do.
right.
Whereas you collect a team of rivals,
That's
potentially,
what I
like
was.
people who
Oh,
aren't going to see things the way that you are, you might actually grow through situations and come out on the other side experiencing things differently and having a
yeah,
growth edge be stretched.
you used that before I got a chance to. As you were talking, I was like, team of rivals, don't
Team of
lose
rivals,
it.
team of
Oh,
rivals.
you beat me to it. Um, I, I also think I've noticed this in like children, like when I was teaching, definitely about how they seem to already have at 15 through 18 the idea that like, oh, I can't do this thing, or
Mm-hmm.
I haven't mastered this yet, and I tried it once, it was hard, so therefore hands are thrown up in the air and you can't do it. And I think it's one of the detriments that we don't really factor. I mean, as far as like, I'll speak for myself, my experience teaching. We may preach this, but the system and classes aren't designed to like actually foster the idea of like, no, we like you. I would like you to really work on public speaking. Like, oh, I
Mm-hmm.
can't do it. I hate it. I'm like, you're 12. You have no idea what you're good at, right? And it's like, there's so much weight on all these other external forces. There's no actual chance for growth or you know treating it like a garden, like giving it what it needs and seeing what happens. And it's just like, well, I can't do it. And it's like, no, you could if you tried. I mean, you're going to be awesome at it every time. No, but like that's all skills are practice over time, right? You've learned to do
Right.
everything up at this point. So this is like no different. But I think we get caught in the loop of like, well, I can't do this now, so therefore I'm not good at it. I'm like, well, it could be. I mean, it just takes effort and energy. So
Well,
tell me about
I
mm,
think that comes with the it's totally natural. I don't think this is like a personality flaw.
mm,
An aversion to discomfort. So it
yeah,
doesn't feel comfortable to be shitty at something. And we usually experience like shame and embarrassment come up. And so rather than being like, ooh, remember when I first tried to do this and I epically failed, and then I tried three
right.
more times and I did it decently, and now,
Hmm.
I can kind of handle it. like, I think it's a good thing to test within ourselves always,
Hmm.
is what our comfort level is with our discomfort levels,
Right.
and just noticing, like, what does it feel like in your body when you're uncomfortable? You know, can you recall a time where you were uncomfortable because you couldn't do something or it didn't come naturally to you? And then fast forward 6 months,
Hmm.
of continuing to practice it, and how you got better at it. You know, like, I mean, I think of all the times in my life that if I had run away from discomfort, how I wouldn't be where I am. I wouldn't
Hmm.
have the, like, the joys and the gifts that I have in my life, because that would have been it. It would have shut it down. I mean, our relationship included, I couldn't talk to you. That was incredibly uncomfortable. I mean, speaking of, like, witch and lover, I truly felt, um like I was this weird
I mean, you are. It's
weird
fine.
weird woman, weird wild woman that you were going to be like, you need to calm down. So every time I was, like, around you, I was like, I can't say any words. Oh my god. Like, it was so, my whole body felt not settled, anytime I was trying to talk to you. And if I had been like, well, forget it, you know, that would be so sad. Um that'd be so sad.
It's so funny. It's so
Just had to
bizarre.
keep practicing. Just go to your
You got to
classroom
keep
and be like, I
practicing.
need a textbook. Hi, I need a textbook. I can say that sentence. I
I
need
was
a
like, for
textbook.
what? But yes, yeah, it's true. It's funny.
Where you were like the dragon of textbooks.
Right.
Why did you have all the textbooks?
Because a lot of some classes they didn't take them home
Mm.
because it's like I never wanted to play the game of like hand in your book. Here's a bill. Oh, you don't have to pay it. Okay, fine, whatever. So it's like I found other things for them to do at home, and they didn't have to bring a $90 book home. So it's one less thing I had to worry about. It was very
And you
selfish. This
had
is all
just
just like
and you had shelves just lined with them. You
I
were the
know.
book, you were the textbook dragon.
That's a great nickname. Could do worse.
You could do worse.
Um. All right. So the witch. Tell me about the witch, because I want to tell you about the lover. Like I think
I mean, I think a
both of
lot of
these
people
already
know.
carry a. All right. I mean, I'm saying both of these carry preconceived notions that may be disproven. Right. Like when we think lover, definitely think something, but I think what it actually, the energy it actually
Mm,
represents, is slightly different. So
yeah.
is it same for the witch? Tell me about the witch.
Yeah, I mean, of course, this is the archetype that is the least talked about. I think, um,
Really? At
yeah,
least.
I mean, when we think about, like, the stretch of history, right? So,
Oh.
triple goddess, maiden, mother, crone,
Mm,
we skip over the witch archetype. Like, we don't pause within that stage of life. We we downplay it, or if it is talked about, it's talked about in the negative. It's talked
mm,
about, like being called a witch isn't usually like a compliment.
right.
I mean, it is around here, but um in, cultural context, that is kind of put in the negative. So in spiritual warrior, we dive really deep into lunar archetypes and
Mm,
how these things overlap with the phases of the moon, and how we understand that everybody moves through this archetype in life, for sure, and in the cycles of the moon each month. So you have basically a witch week. And then there's also seasons, right? So if the crone is associated with winter, and the maiden spring, and the mother summer, the witch is fall. It truly
mm,
is the season of the witch, not only because of Samhain, Halloween, spooky stuff, but because it is the season of release and transformation and intuition and shadow. So that magic part of the witch archetype that aligns with the lunar cycles that move in the month is the waning moon. So as the light starts to fade, the witch arises. So think about this quite literally in the wheel of the year. If you're in the northern hemisphere right now, the days are getting shorter. All right, so the light
Mm.
begins to fade. As the light fades, the witch arises. She's the shadow priestess. She is the transformer, the alchemist. She walks the edge between one world and the other, however you classify that. And she tends to be very mysterious. She really longs to turn inward and be more about introspection and letting go of, external clinging and attachment. um it's like her time to shine is really through like deep meditation, uh sound meditation, sound healing, mantra. She wants to do movement that's about release and transmuting things. And of course, she's really good at the shadow work that is important that we all do. So when we look at her, we're we're gaining inner wisdom, and we're setting really good boundaries, and we're letting go of things that don't serve us. So those are the kind of like reigning themes of the witch. And then
Mm.
as she connects with her divine masculine counterpart, um, she's really able to like she's really able to alchemize shadow into wisdom, and that comes from vulnerability and truth. And so that's what they do together.
Mm.
They're able to reflect. There is deep soulful intimacy, there is embodiment, truth telling, those kind of things. So whereas the witch is exploring hidden emotional depths of life, the lover is offering reflection back and full acceptance and intimacy in her hidden, more deep spiritual self,
Mm.
if that makes sense.
It makes sense. I love it. It's
I
great.
love it.
So like the lover, of course, it conjures up just like, if you're like, oh, what's the lover archetype? What do you think of, right? It's like typical, maybe emotional, physical, like love, like the lover, right?
Mhm.
But it's more about, um, and this is the way the book worded it, and I read, like sensual and actually meaning the senses. So like you are acknowledging, appreciating, interacting with all of your like senses. Like, I mean, the example, of course, I found and I even underlined at one point. I was like, oh, this is funny. Was like the guys like open a humidor with cigars and like smell them, take in the aroma. If you do it, like, you know what I mean? It's like really being in nature and like, really embracing what it feels like to be in the woods, in the grass, and like what are you touching, what are you feeling, what are you smelling. So it's like being really in touch, and interacting with that physically. So that's physically part of like what are the senses that are going on. Um, and then it also deals with like creativity, inspiration, and empathy, right? So you're not just feeling and sensing physically, like you're feeling and sensing energy, or you're feeling and sensing emotions between yourself and people. It's like when you walk in, can you read a room? Like, can you say, oh,
Mm.
it seems this person's body language or energy or how they're speaking, they seem maybe upset, or, you know, people that you know very well or work together, right? It's like, oh, I can tell this person is not having a good day, although I just ran into them or something like that. So it's like leaning into that and being kind of aware of the external. And it's funny that you say like the witch is like about going internal, where the lover is about the external. It's about going out. So like you're not focusing so much on yourself. You are trying to sense and see and feel everything around you. And as I was reading this, I was like, oh, these are like the Jedi. This is like the Jedi from Star
Mm.
Wars. It's like they're using the Force, right? So like, yes, they have to go inside themselves, but like you are reaching out with the Force is the metaphor, right? So you're like going outside yourself. Um, and it's like the next example is like Obi-Wan Kenobi in the Star Wars films. I was like, yes, exactly what I
What
thought.
what book were you reading? Was this online, or were you reading
No,
your?
this was
Yeah, yeah.
Warrior King
I'm
Magician
like,
Lover.
man, this book was like written for you, I
It
think.
was. There's
It
so
just
many
gave
like,
you examples of a humidor and Star Wars.
well, I
What?
mean, if this is for masculine archetypes, you could you'd be silly if you didn't try to weave some of that in, because it clearly is working. Clearly grasped my attention. Um,
Yeah, it's definitely that balance. Like the witch can want to get lost within herself. Like can really want to just dive deep within, and what the lover does for her is says, "Hey, let's bring this out into the world, into what is actually happening around us." Like it doesn't have to, almost like you know, uh if there's something that maybe you want to hide about yourself
mm,
because you have shame or embarrassment, or it seems like it's on the fringe and you don't know how it's going to be received, the lover archetype within you is going to say like, hey, but this is who you are. Like
right,
let's
like
speak
the
truth about who we really are in the real world, and not let it be something that consumes us and asks us to hide. And so it's a good litmus test for relationships, right? Like,
right.
what are the things that you think are quirky, odd, weird, not mainstream about you that you don't want anybody to know about, right? First step would be to let your partner know that these are things that are about you. And then you'll know that you have found a good match when that person is like, actually, these are some of the things that I love the most about you.
Right, or just the
And
willingness to explore and experience and sense, right? So it's like, no, I want to see and hear about all that. Like I want to experience that. You don't need to bury those things. Like the lover will want to explore those aspects. Yeah.
yeah.
Um, does the now I know I probably asked this before when we talk about these archetypes, but for the masculine archetypes as they're presented, there is a mature masculine, and then there's the immature, like the man and the boy energy,
Hmm.
both positive and shadow. So it's like if it's a pyramid, there's the mature mass, there's like the man energy when there's the at its fullest, and then it's at its shadow, and there's like a passive and active versions of that. Does the feminine archetype have a similar kind of structure or anything like that?
Yeah. I mean, I'm trying to figure out a way to move away from the like the binary of this is shadow or bad and this is light and therefore good,
Why?
because I feel like that classification is kind of reductive. So ultimately it's like there are aspects of ourselves that are integrated in who we are, and there are aspects of ourselves that are fragmented and that we
Mm,
haven't fully integrated. And anything that isn't integrated into who we are would probably be what we categorize as shadow. And the reason
mm,
is because we are pretending, we are avoiding, we are hiding those aspects of ourselves because we don't like them.
mm,
And what happens though is that they tend to follow us around, similar to a shadow. So I understand why like this metaphor is used, but I think it's worth spending time talking about it. Otherwise, people immediately think shadow, bad, light, good. Um,
yeah,
we want to move away from that.
I don't mind using those as a framework only because there are some behaviors that you could deem as like unhealthy for yourself and maybe for other people, especially someone if you're in a relationship with. So I don't think that you are either one or the other, and it's that black and
Right.
white, and there's that dichotomy. I think it can be a spectrum where you can achieve and have a lot of qualities that are aligned with the healthy, mature masculine lover archetype, and also like, oh, but like I sometimes there's a thing where I slip into the other archetypes or like the shadow aspect, where like for the mature lover there's the lover, and then the shadow parts are the addicted lover and the impotent lover, both the
Mm-hmm.
active and the passive kind of versions. And I think you could be all three at once. I don't think it's one or the other. I don't think if you are displaying characteristics of the addicted lover, you are completely you are so far removed from the mature lover. I don't
Mm-hmm.
it's a big amalgamation. I think it's worth exploring. that's why I don't mind using it. So I don't see it as like a one or the other type thing. So,
Yeah.
and I don't think you
Yeah. And
should. Yeah.
I might be even more kind of vigilant around it when it comes to
Mm,
the witch archetype,
mm,
because the words that you use to describe like the witch culturally can be seen in and of
mm,
themselves as more like shadowy aspects. Um, and, I think that it's so important to give people permission to understand that, like, if we're avoiding any aspects of ourselves, any at all, they're going to fall under the category of shadow, or
mm,
in the framework that I think is in this book that you're talking about, it's like the immature. Like, you haven't fully grown into integration of all of these parts of yourself.
mm-hmm.
And so then, like, old shadowy aspects tend to rise to the surface, and actions are representing that instead of a fully integrated mature lover archetype. um will you explain again? I know you explained it to me, I think yesterday we were talking about this, we were walking. Yeah. um yeah, because I was like, let's you said we should pause on this and talk about it on the podcast, and then I said something and you were like, maybe it's good we're rehearsing. um I don't know what I said, something wildly inappropriate. um
Probably.
what is the addicted lover?
So the addicted lover is like the restless, kind of essentially looking for a conquest in a way. It's like bouncing from lover to lover. It's like very superficial, very interested in someone, for lack of a better way to explain this, and then kind of like moving on. Like the lack of, it's like if you go on 100 dates with 100 different people, right? And you can tell the same stories. I can do the same bits. I can tell the same. I can be like, here is the first date version of myself. But then if it gets to dates 5, 6, 7, and then like, oh, I've told my stories already. I have to dig deeper to kind of establish a connection, or to see, if this relationship is going to go. That would be more of the mature lover. The addicted lover is like, well, I just want kind of the surface level, and I just want a lot of the surface level. One example the author uses is the character Jay Gatsby, in The Great Gatsby,
Oh
because
boy.
he is just focusing. He is just like obsessing over Daisy, right? And it's just
Hmm.
like that kind of obsession, that just like almost kind of like putting on a pedestal in a way where you don't even want to get to know the person on an actual personal level. And if like, oh, they're a human, so they have some type of quirks and flaws, that's almost like, ugh. You know what I mean? Like just the idea of flaws alone, not just like, you know, um, so I thought that was a great example. And it's just, um, continually searching for something,
Hmm.
right? That's like kind of the addicted lover. Um,
Well, I think that archetype shows up a lot for people, um, kind of outside, just to take this outside the context of masculine necessarily. I think that one way this shows up for a lot of folks, particularly spiritual, not religious folks, is in the seeking
mm,
of a spiritual leader or teacher. And then the second that teacher is human, or isn't always in their ascended, kind
mm-hmm,
of personality identity, then it's like move on, new teacher, or seeking an entirely different, spiritual path. So there's this like longing to find or to chase the idea of perfection, and then only wanting to pour your adoration and
mm,
love and devotion towards somebody that meets those standards of
right.
perfection.
That maintains a level of perfection that is impossible for anyone that's human, right? Another
Right.
part is that the addicted lover will fall in love like easy and hard
Immediately.
and fast
Mm-hmm.
immediately, and then fall out of love if a relationship ends and be like devastated, right? Like
Like completely just
completely
gutted.
devastated, hung up on someone for an extended period of time, you know what I mean? It's like you can date someone for
Well,
a
it's
little
like an addiction
while,
pattern.
kind of, yeah. It's like you fall hard, and then when it's over, you just are not over them, right? So it's another part of like the addicted lover, and it's like the chasing and collecting of experiences. Like is another part of that, right? It's like the external, the chase kind of, and for the chase's sake. The impotent lover is like when we hear that, and like you know, there's of course the that and like referencing the libido, right? So we think it's all sexual about the a lover, but it's more like the the impotence or the low libido in like life and not wanting to
Passion.
experience passion, right? Like general
Hmm.
passion for living or doing things, right? Like
Right.
you have no interests, or you don't want to do anything. Like you found maybe a couple of things that are self-soothing and comforting, and you don't want to do kind of anything else, right? It's like, and I could think of people that I've met over the years. I'm like, oh yeah, this is like, or been there, where it's like you feel like you got nothing going on. It's like, oh, I have nothing. And then I reflected on, when we see, I guess this is a stereotype, definitely for men, when we say a midlife crisis, where it's like,
Mm.
oh, they bought the car, right? That
The
they, oh,
sports
they're
car.
going through
Hmm.
midlife. They bought the sports car because they're going through midlife
Hmm.
crisis, or they learned base jumping or cliff diving. And I think I don't think that's entirely a fair characterization of that. I think because I'm reflecting on uh, what I remember of my dad growing up, and once I hit like 10, maybe I remember like he took like karate lessons and did that for a while, right?
Hmm.
He and his buddies got into learning to kayak at like a local community college pool, and then went in the river, right? They did hiking on the Appalachian Trail for a while. And I thought, I'm like, man, you are just into some crazy, like, what are you into now? What is going on? But like, if there's a difference between like trying to collect and chase experiences, but also there's a thing I think there's value to like try to learn new things that excite you and like give you passion, joy, give you juice, right?
Hmm.
And then I
Juice.
think speaking as a masculine man, it's like when you can find something like that, that joy carries over to your all other relationships. So it's like, this is why like the importance of like, if you are just self-soothing, if you're just only doing kind of habits or behaviors that are only just comforting, and you're not learning, or you're not pushing yourself, or you're not
Right.
experiencing, right? That's like the impotent lover, as opposed to like finding a passion, finding a joy, finding something that excites you in any kind of way.
Well, and ideally, when folks are going out to kind of like rekindle that sense of passion, they are
Mm,
able to bring it back into the areas of their lives that maybe the passion has waned, or the
mm,
spark and fire has started to go out, and so it's feeding into these other areas. And I could see how the addicted lover would be more like, I'm going to do this thing until it's not
right.
exciting anymore. And then I'm going to go on to the next thing, and I'm going to go on to the next thing, and I'm going to go on to the next thing, and kind of, um, you know, step into that adrenaline junkie, to use another addiction type of phrase,
Mm,
where we're chasing a feeling, a sensation, and it's so short lived that it's no different than chasing a new relationship, because there's all the like spark and twinkle, and not being able to sustain that relationship the moment that we step into discomfort. Or
mm,
if, let's say that you're like, I'm gonna learn whitewater rafting, right? And then you have an experience where it didn't go so well, and you're like, well, I didn't do great at that. That actually felt scary and uncomfortable. um Literally abandon ship. I'm not doing this anymore, because I no longer get to be in my comfort zone, or even
mm,
like my sparkly curiosity about it. Stuff got real and hard for a moment, so I'm on to the next and new bright, shiny,
right.
sparkly thing.
I mean, we could see that, all right, as you're describing this. I think of someone who like picks up a sport, or a kind of like a
Hobby or
sport or a
whatever,
team
yeah.
hobby, and it's, yeah, and the second the glitz and glamour disappear and like the work shows up, you
Yeah.
bounce, right? You're immediately like, oh, I don't want to do this because this requires
Well,
work, or it's getting hard. And it's like, yeah, I mean,
yeah.
there should
And
be there should be definitely some element of joy, but also some element in persevering to a degree, right? I mean, I'm not saying do things that make you miserable, but I mean, it's worth pursuing and pushing a little bit,
And this is what, this is the game of the witch as well. It's actually that what feels good to the witch is often the things that are more emotionally heavy or deep or
Ooh.
dark or not surface level. And so what can be uncomfortable for the witch is then being kind of confronted with, how do you integrate all of this into this outer world that you need to be in? Because whereas the lover might escape to this shiny thing and this shiny thing and this shiny thing, the witch is going to completely withdraw inside herself. So we all can see that shadow aspect or disintegrated aspect of the witch in those moments in our life where we're like, I don't want to leave the house. I don't want to leave the house. Where is my cottage in the woods where nobody comes to visit me because they've all heard horror stories about what an evil human I am? Like, amazing. I get to be alone. Like the moments that we have those thoughts arise, and they move and they flow and they don't stick around forever. But when you have this deep longing to like not have to people, that's that aspect of the witch. And so, together they can balance each other out. They can question each other's default mode, essentially, is what goes on. Yeah.
Nice.
Witch and the lover, babe.
Witch and the lover. Again, I always,
Witch and the lover.
when I had to look out which of the last two, I'm like, I knew what the lover was the last one. But I'm like, which one's the feminine? I said witch. So that's weird. It doesn't seem to go. Which then I thought, that means they complement each other really well.
And I'm in my witch archetype right now. Just like moon cycling wise. And it's I was thinking about this last night actually, because I was like, oh, we're gonna fly to the UK next week, and I'm gonna be in full crone mode in the UK. And so like, what does the king archetype look like?
I was going to say, please tell me just give me a detailed list of the archetypes I need to have on the days we're going to do stuff based on where you are. And I'd be like, okay, I can do this.
You're just going to have to show up and be the king all week, babe.
Got it. I'll reread the king chapter and I'll make sure.
Reread it on the plane.
Get in there. I probably will. That's hilarious. It's not a big book, so I probably will bring it.
Yeah, just throw it in there.
Yeah.
Any other final thoughts?
Just how this archetype is slightly different for the masculine version, where the other three, like the warrior, the king, and the magician, all kind of provide structure and or like provide some sort of like structure, whereas this one is supposed to be more extra, like boundless, like you're supposed to like not be as structured, which I think is a good reminder for the masculine to engage in the senses and the feelings and the empathy, right? Like I think this is, speaking generally, very generally, this might be the harder one to initially access, right? I think you hear the three of them, like warrior, king, magician, lover. Number one, warrior, right? And then it'll be like, yeah, I can do that one. King, you bet. Magician, that's not exciting. But then lover, it's like, ooh, what does that one mean, right? I think this is the initial one that is initially not the most understood just by the name and more difficult to access and channel. But it's a great reminder. It's a great, this one is a good pause. I think this one could be a good like rest, recovery type archetype, slow down, meditative, reset, you know what I mean? And some of these, like what you're trying to practice, what you're trying to cultivate. And it's good. I think it's important to work on because it's something that I think as a masculine man, it's one that I don't gravitate towards initially. And it takes presence and conscious effort to experience.
Totally. And I think that it's not, I think it's not a coincidence that like for a lot of folks who identify with the feminine archetypes more strongly, the witch feels scary. The witch
Mm.
feels like I've been told a lot of stuff about what this means, and most of them were not happy stories. Like think about fairy tales, think about,
Mm-hmm. Right.
just kind of media around, and I think the witches are waking up more and more every year. I think there's much more acceptance, or that's just the story that I tell myself in the bubble that I live in. So yay, witches.
I think there's a little bit of both.
A little bit of both.
A little bit of both. So oh man, is this our last archetype conversation?
I mean, we can always have archetype conversations, babe.
That's true. And every time, like I'm seeing things on different archetypes, like masculine. Sometimes it's like, here are the 12. I'm like, 12. That seems like a lot.
Well,
I only know
that.
4.
Yep.
And even the book that I'm not trying to read, slowly getting through about the feminine archetypes has like 7. So, yeah, I thought we'd start at 4 and just work on that for a while.
We can expand out from there. It's like, let's get a handle with some what are they? Legs on a stool, right? We got legs on a stool.
Legs on a stool.
We have 4 of them. We got a solid foundation for this idea of archetypes. Let's wrap our heads around those, and then we can expand out from there.
I told my metaphor was like, well, let's get some swings under our belt, like spring training, right? Let's get some swings. Let's see some pitches. Let's learn how to let's learn how to field some ground balls before we worry about doing backhanded loop-de-loop double plays. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, thanks, honey.
Thanks,
Wi-Fi
honey.
Pod coming at you from 165 Cayuga Street, 2 different rooms. Thanks for our last so far of our archetype conversations.
Yeah.
So for the Wi-Fi Pod, this is Matt.
This is Jeannie.
Thanks, everyone.